Republicans can't seem to figure out whether they're in favor of mail-in voting or if they're against mail-in voting. And I would venture to say that it really depends on the race and how it impacts them. So case in point, California's special election for the 25th district congressional race. Now, let me just note that California happens to be the first state that has committed to sending mail-in ballots to every single registered voter. And of course, this is the common sense move to make when you're concerned about how the pandemic is going to impact the voter turnout. And so I'm glad Gavin Newsom's doing that. And remember, Donald Trump himself did not like the idea of mail-in ballots because he thinks that it opens up opportunities for fraud, even though there's absolutely no evidence of that. Well, now in California's 25th district, it turns out that not only can people vote by mail, but they can also vote at these designated voting places, which will implement the social distancing guidelines necessary to keep people safe if they choose to vote in person. And Republicans are now saying that having a voting place open, specifically in Lancaster County, California, is a big problem. So, for instance, Tom Emmer, the leader of the National Republican Congressional Committee, sent a memo to all House Republicans on Saturday with an urgent call to arms that Democrats are trying to steal Tuesday's special election for California's 25th congressional district seat. So his memo specifically says, we're issuing an urgent call to arms regarding the vote by mail California 25th special election happening this Tuesday. It's very clear that Democrats are trying to steal this election, and we need your help raising hell on social media, TV, radio, etc. Now, what they're concerned about is how there will be a special voting place open in Lancaster County so people can vote in person. And Donald Trump has chimed in on this via Twitter, saying Governor Gavin Newsom of California won't let restaurants, beaches, and stores open, but he installs a voting booth system in a highly Democrat area, supposed to be mail-in ballots only, because our great candidate, Mark Garcia, that's the Republican, of course, is winning by a lot. California 25 rigged election. Okay, so just to be clear, this election is between Mike Garcia, who's the Republican, and Christy Smith, who is a Democrat who I have absolutely no love for whatsoever. However, it's important to be principled and protect our democratic process and give people the opportunity to vote if they want to vote. And so, again, Cenk, it amazes me that Republicans didn't like mail-in voting. They hated mail-in voting. Trump claimed that mail-in voting means fraud. And now all of a sudden he's like, oh no, this voting place, no, don't like it. That's not okay. It's not right. I thought they had mail-in voting.
Yeah, they forced Wisconsin to vote. People got sick in Wisconsin by going to those voting areas. And they loved it because they thought they were going to win that election. Now, furthermore, this needs real clarity. There are other places where you could, they have voting booths where they follow these rules. This is adding one in Lancaster, which is a different city than Palmdale. The Republicans are saying, well, they're close to each other, 10 minutes apart, so why don't they just go to the one in Palmdale? So they're not, normally what happens with Republicans is when they're in charge, they close down voting booths in minority areas, college campuses, any place likely to vote Democratic. And they open up more places in areas that are more likely to vote Republican. In this case, it's California, so they can't control the state. They're not criticizing the Democratic governor for closing down voting areas in places that are Republican. They're criticizing him for opening up a voting area where Democrats might vote. So, that is unreal. So they're like, why won't the Democratic governor do voter suppression? It's outrageous. We demand voter suppression like we do in the red states. And I can't believe he's letting people vote. But wait a minute, how could voting in person, other than the health considerations, which you say you don't care about at all, how could it possibly be wrong? It's like one thing for the Republicans to defend them closing down voting areas, which is what they do all the time. It's another thing to insist that you not open them up in a whole city where people could go and vote. Even the Republican mayor of Lancaster, Rex Paris, is like, yeah, no, we're our own city. Obviously, we need this area.
Yeah, Cenk, can I actually read you his statement? Because I think that the context is important. His political affiliation is important. And so Mayor Rex Paris, who is a Republican, says this: this is something the county should fix immediately. There should not be even the appearance of affecting the outcome by limiting the ability to vote. I want Mike to win. I think he'd be a better congressman, but I don't want to jimmy the election. And you know what? I commend him for that. He's being principled. He understands the importance of our democratic process. He understands the importance of making it as easy as possible for everyone who wants to vote to be able to exercise that right. But the Republicans on a federal level clearly do not care about democracy. They do not want the people of Lancaster County to have various options available to them if they want to cast their ballot. And it's gross. Like, this is the type of stuff that you should expect from Republicans, but nothing's ever being done about it. Trump naming a loyalist of his as the postmaster general in a year where the general election is really going to rely on mail-in voting is a disaster. And we need to do something about that right now. And I just feel like there isn't enough emphasis on that.
So for those of you who don't remember, I ran in this race, okay, or who never found out in the first place. So I lost in the first round of the primary. So I know these areas really, really well, and I know the characters here. So Rex Paris is a complicated guy, but on many issues, he's massively right-wing. He tried to make it illegal to give food to the homeless in Lancaster. He told people that they should carry around weapons in case they confront homeless people. He is saying in that quote, I want the Republican to win really badly, Mike Garcia, right? And Rex Paris is very, very Republican. And he's saying, but why shouldn't we have a voting area in my city? That doesn't make any sense. Of course it doesn't make any sense. And so, look, there's two things about this. One is, yeah, Republicans cry about anything. We know that already. And it's called crying to the refs. Some sports teams do it. Every soccer star does it. This is the equivalent of them throwing themselves onto the ground, going, oh my God, as if they got hurt really badly when they didn't get hurt at all, right? But it goes all the way up to their president. Trump gets involved in every little thing where he can cry and whine, etc. He brings up every little star they have. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, they never back anybody, right? So, and they never fight back. They never do any of the things that the Republicans do to affect the voting. And so you have an uneven playing field where the Republicans run roughshod in the states that they run. They suppress voting in every way imaginable. And then we turn around and that leads to the second point, as always, with the media. What are we having a real conversation over this? Are you insane? I don't care that they're crying. No, their main argument is, for no reason at all, you should have less voting in this one city. How could that possibly be a legitimate argument? That doesn't make it. They're not saying you close down voting areas where Republicans could have voted. They're saying don't open one up in an area where Democrats might vote. That's insanity. That's not a real conversation. They should be, the press, if they had any guts at all, should mock the Republicans and say this is clearly voter disenfranchisement and another example of Republicans not wanting people to vote. And Trump, in this situation, not in California 25, but a couple of weeks ago, about mail-in ballots, said if you have mail-in ballots, the Republicans will never win another election. He admitted it. It's all about voter suppression. For God's sake, call it what it is.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.